Mic check. Mic check. How we sounded. Smash that like button as you come through. Yeah. It's a good day. Hallelujah. It's a blessed day. How y'all feeling today? Give y'all a second to come in. Smash that like button. We talk about it. In the meantime, we're gonna groove out this background music real smooth. Oh man, long ass week. But it's Shabbat. So I'm gonna chill, enjoy my rest, and maybe do some Bible documentaries. I'm actually recording one right now. In case you guys have been wondering where I've been. Anytime I disappear, I'm working on something for you. The Queen Nanny video has been getting a lot of good reviews, and I feel I gotta drop something that's just as good. So I'm working on something. Working on something for y'all. Jeez. Nice. All right. So, Chief Richard Currie, Paramount Chief of the Maroons. Hallelujah. Shalom. So, Chief Currie, Richard Currie, was elected, I think, last year. And in the short time that he's been chief, he's been cleaning up a kampong. And for those of you who are just tuning in, you don't know what a kampong is, or the Maroons. So the Maroons are, now a lot of people won't agree with my definition, and I like how the chief says it, that a lot of people have their own definition of what the Maroons are, but whatever. The best way to describe who the Maroons are is to call the Maroons by what the Maroons call themselves. The Nkunku Pikibo. The Nkunku is the Most High God, the Creator. Pikibo is old Cromanti. It's Chi. It's Twi or Chi, as it's actually pronounced. It's Chi for Pickaninny. So Pickaninny is a pidgin or a Creole language. I think it's a pidgin. I think pidgin is the proper term for Creole. Yeah, I think it's pidgin, but Pickaninny or Pickaninnies, you know them in America as Pickaninnies. Pickaninnies is like a racist term for little black kids. Well, in Jamaica, we use the term picnic. How if I picnic this? But now I got mind a bomber ass picnic if you don't make it. Lala D, what's up, Queen? So good to have you. So good to have you, love. Much blessings to you. Miss you. So thanks for tuning in. So you know what a picnic is? Pickaninny, that's what they call them in America. But in Jamaica, we call them picnics, right? So, picky bow is what my ancestors would have said instead of picky. So the first wave of like Africans in Jamaica, they would have called it. They would have said the word picky bow, and that's the Akan ancestors, right? So picky bow is it's a chi. It's a chi word, right? My Jamaican friends use that term for their kids, exactly. Oh, if I picnic this, I might picnic. I don't mind picnic that, but now I take care of no. But now I mind nobody picnic. Move on along, but now I mind nobody blood clot picnic. Yeah, I was just listening to a song like that. Them a raffle man, I did. Me them wifey get the jacket, but me nah gonna mind no picking it if me know I don't me make it. Them a raffle and I loved it. Me them wifey get the jacket. Wash belly? In what sense? Like your belly need a wash on? Is that what you're referring to? But anyway, Maroons call themselves Yenkunku Pikibo. Pikibo, as I said, is children. So we're children of Yenkunku. Yenkunku is the creator, the most high God. But what most people must understand is that yes, it's Mr. Vegas. Um yeah, Lala, it's Mr. Vegas. And you never understood what he was saying? Funny, you should mention that because today I was listening to that song and and it's because of this thing, because I was saying pick me a lot. And I decided to listen to it. And I'm like, I wonder if people understand exactly what he's saying, because that's a vicious song. That is a vicious song. So, wash belly is the final child a Jamaican woman has. Oh, oh yeah, yeah. No, I've never heard the term. Yeah, no, I never heard that one. Well, thanks for telling me, because I feel ashamed not knowing stuff that's related to Jamaica. I do now. But yeah, um, what you call it? So the song, what he's saying is that the chorus is saying they are raffling and dipping, as in, like when you have a raffle, you got a bunch of names in a hat or some shit. It's saying that these women nowadays are reaching into their hat that is full of names of all the dudes they slept with, and they're just pulling out names to see who the baby daddy might be, right? And he's saying that it's I mean them wifey the jacket. They want to give me the jacket. The term jacket in Jamaica is a big insult. Like, jacket means the kid is not yours. It means you're taking care of somebody else's baby. Usually you don't know. So he says they want to give me the jacket. She's pulling names out of her hat, like of all the dudes she slept with. But he says, I'm not taking care of no kids. If I'm not the one who made it, go back, stop, and reach back in your hat and pull out another name, bitch. Because that kid doesn't have not even a trait as much as my fingertip. Right? That's what he's saying. Cada picnic not even have as much as my fingertip. Shay the Great says side eye. Salute Shay the Great. Lala D says, oh, jacket. I like Jamaican proverbs than African ones. Really? Maybe it's regional. Yeah. I don't think I can know all of them. I left as a kid though. So point being, Maroon. Maroons don't call themselves Maroons. It's really a term that the British applied, and I'll get into that in a second. But Maroons say Yenkunku Pikibo, and that's the children of the Most High God, the Creator God, right? Of the Creator, children of the Creator. Now, as a young Maroon, salute Auntie, I love you. I remember being like 4 or 5 years old, and my aunt told me, "Don't ever forget that you're a Maroon." And she told me, and I said, "Like Nani?" And she's like, "Yeah, like Nani." And she told me, "Yeah, her brother is our direct forefather, and it's something that we're very proud of." And that the Rowe family name is a big deal in a compound. And I promptly forgot all that shit. I remembered the Maroon part, but I didn't remember the name and the history. But I did remember that my aunt told me as a kid about the tribe of Judah and not even Maroons, but just Jamaicans in general, mostly Rastaman, will tell you that, hey, we're the tribe of Judah, that King David's children were in Jamaica, and there's actually a lot of like historical significance to King Solomon's offspring being in Jamaica. Like that's provable. Like there's even graves to prove that. It's just whether those people are in the graves are black or white, but we can dig them up and whatnot. But that's a subject for another day. Um, but point being, Maroons call themselves children of the Most High God, right? Now, the as most Maroons are raised to believe, I'm not going to say all Maroons, but I found a book from my what is it called, from my great grand uncle who was a former chief. Just a couple of pictures in magazines, and a couple of pictures in magazines and whatnot. He him being what you call it, a Maroon chief. He's quoted as saying that the Maroons are Israelites. He says it flat out, like no cover up, no joke, no nothing. He's like, no, we're Africans, but we're also Israelites. Um, and many Maroons are raised to believe that we are the children of the Most High God and that we're a chosen people. We're raised to believe that, and the stories of our ancestors literally depict them as if they were talking to God, and we certainly believe that. Like the story of Queen Nani, she's talking to God. Like that's how we won the war. You know, it's how does a bunch of mountain niggas, less than 1,000 mountain niggas, defeat the greatest empire on planet Earth at the time? How does that happen? And the people report seeing weird stuff, like the soldiers report seeing weird stuff and all that, right? I think Jamaicans were meant to be teachers of people of color. Hey, perhaps. I know I want to be, but it took me some time to learn some stuff, you know. Oh, jeez. Okay. Okay. But yeah, give me 1 second. Shay the Great, I know you ain't come here just to side eye me and leave. Who you side eyeing? That's all right. Just make sure you smash that like or dislike button on your way out. So yeah, I'm gonna get to the chief stuff in just a moment. Um, so the Maroons, um, are the word maroon, and some people may try to contend this with me, but I bet money. My sources are very very old. The word maroon. Now, the Maroons are famous for being, as history will tell you, runaway slaves who um who defeated the British, right? Runaway slaves from Africa who defeated the British, and forced them to come sign a treaty of peace and whatnot. And as such, these groups of former slaves have their own country within Jamaica that is still recognized after 240 years. No, 283 years. 283 years since 1738. And the leaders of the rebellion was the great Queen Nani of the Maroons. And she's a Jamaican heroine, better known as Sarah Matilda Rowe. And her brothers, 7 brothers, but elder brother Kodjo and a Kompong. And a Kompong is still a town that sits today. That was a war camp. Now, see, I won't be typing, just listening. Only 5% battery. Oh, yeah, walk. Be safe. Be safe. Save your battery. Might need it. But I appreciate you. You can always catch the replay. Anyway, so that's a general story of the Maroons you get, but it's a little deeper than that. Um, the Maroons make up the native Jamaicans, right? Now, what the native Jamaicans look like is up for debates because there were many native groups in Jamaica. There were native groups of dark-skinned people who you, for the most part, to me, would look like just another type of nigga. Just the softer, lighter, lighter hair, something of that nature. But for the most part, you would classify as a nigga, you know. But of the various races, I believe that is the one that make us up. But I can't go back in time and see what these people look like. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, it's the native Jamaicans, um, an Arawak or Taino group known as I think Locono or Yamai, I forget. But they fought Columbus in 1493, and after defeating Columbus, he came back and then sent them packing, and they ran up to the mountains. Right now, if we read Columbus's journal, Columbus had a translator, right? Columbus's translator was named Luis de Torres, but to those that know, his real name was Joseph ben Levi. Joseph ben Levi means Joseph, the son, a descendant of Levi, the Hebrew. Joseph ben Levi ben Ivrim. So he's saying that he's related to the biblical Hebrews, this Joseph ben Levi guy, right? So Joseph ben Levi spoke Hebrew, Arabic, Latin, well, not Latin, but Spanish, and what's it called? Um, a language called Ladino. Now, is Ladino is a it's a mixture of Hebrew, Arabic, and Latin, right? Or Spanish. Excuse me. Well, Latin, Spanish, same shit. Hold on one second. I'm trying to fuck this dude up. Hold on one second. Just come here, motherfucker. All right, so Ladino, when it's written, it looks like Arabic, but nonetheless, this dude spoke Aramaic, English, excuse me, Aramaic, Spanish, and Arabic, and I guess you could say Ladino because that's the makings of Ladino. But he was Columbus's translator, and what this man said was that um, the reason he could translate the natives' language is because the natives spoke Hebraico corrompido. Now, there's plenty of documentation that shows that the natives of the Americas, first off, there were black people definitely here. What you call it? What's his name? Mansa Musa's brother. Mansa Musa's brother, and what you call it? Basically, black Moorish people, right? So you had blacks in the Americas in Jamaica. But nonetheless, what was said of the natives, especially in Jamaica, was that the gold that they wore was Arabic style, and that the language that the natives spoke was a corrupted form of Hebrew. And he said that the natives of Puerto Rico, Haiti, Cuba, and Jamaica, there were native groups who spoke a language that was corrupted. It was like Hebrew with an influence of something else. And this was proven to be true because Hebrew stones were discovered in Puerto Rico, proving that there is truth to this. But, oh, right? Um, Here's the interesting thing: a chief, and this all has a lot to do with Chief Currie's coronation. A native chief is known as a cacique. I am not a linguistic expert, but um, from what I've read from the findings of linguistic experts, is that they found that cacique is not a native word. It's like it's a mix. It's more than likely Arabic influence, which means if it's Arabic influence, it has a Hebraic root because Arabic and Hebrew are very related. One could say that Hebrew is the root or the father of Arabic. So, with that in mind, um, there was definitely Arabic-speaking people as well as Mandi African-speaking people in the West before Columbus, and they may have accounted for a great deal of the genetics in the Americas, especially in Jamaica. Um, so, as well as the traditional um, Asiatic native being in that area as well. But whatever the case, the point being, the natives of Jamaica, along with more than likely Moorish people, West African, North African, whoever they were, fought back against Christopher Columbus, and they were the ones who occupied the mountains. More than likely, along with black Ladinos, which would have been blacks from Portugal and Spain, which was the dawn of the transatlantic slave trade. But if you know Ladino, it's a Hebraic language, so Black Ladino meaning Black Hebrews, being the first people of the transatlantic slave trade, right? This all makes sense in a second. So, um, Columbus's journey was financed by a group of people who you would refer to as Marranos. The word Marrano is a Spanish word that is actually rooted in Ladino and Arabic and Hebrew. Marrano means it's come to mean crypto Jew or hiding Jew, hidden Jew. It's used to apply to a Jew who is hiding the fact that they are a Jew. But these are Jews by blood. So Jews who are Jews by blood, Israelites, Hebrews, they have a practice. They have practices that they observe religiously, such as not eating pork and also keeping Saturday holy, right? So the Jews of Portugal and Spain during the Inquisition were basically tortured by men in white hooded robes who burned crosses. Looked a lot like the KKK, actually. And they would, torture them, hang them, burn them, and put them in the doorstop of churches. Sounds a lot like what happened in America right after the transatlantic slave trade. But this was before the transatlantic slave trade. So these Marranos, the word Marrano actually means pig. It means young pig. But the reason it was used for crypto Jews, it was used for the children of Jews who pretended to convert. Because when Christianity hit Spain and Portugal, hit Iberia, all the Muslims and Jews were forced to get the fuck out of the kingdom or convert. And they had to, the people who converted were known as conversos or new Christians. The people who pretended to convert and got found out, and if they got found out, they got tortured. Them and their children were referred to as Marranos. And the ones who weren't, the ones who survived that shit, a lot of them were sold. They were the first. The Marranos were literally the first people to be sold in the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade did not start with African Americans. It started with the Marranos of Portugal and Spain. From Portugal in 1492, Marrano children, were taken from I forgot where it was, but somewhere in Portugal, because their family couldn't pay the tax that was imposed on the Jews. So they took their kids, baptized them, and took them to Africa and made them slaves. And then their kids were married off to other Africans who were also slaves, and those kids grew up to be pirates. Pirates who, a lot of them, participated in the slave trade in defense of Christianity, because they were raised by Christians. And that's where the term godparents come from. When they stole you from your family, they gave you to godparents. So here's the thing. No offense to European Jews, but I do not believe that the Sephardic Jews of Portugal and Spain who were sold to Africa as slaves to work in Sao Tome, where grown white people were dying. That's why you sent slaves there to work it. That survived that? No, I don't believe that they were white. No, they were not. Now, you can Google this if you want. You can Google dolichocephalic skulls. If you look up what race has dolichocephalic skulls, you can read a report that was made about it when the whole term they came up with it. Now, they have this skull index where they can look at your bones and they can tell what race you were, more than likely. And they classify that dolichocephaly exists amongst the Negroid races. And they start naming them: Papua New Guinea, the Aboriginals, and niggas, right? Well, black people tend to have either, the rule is mostly dolichocephalic, but there is cases where they have a variety, and there is mixture, and there's a tendency to skew that. It's not perfect, but it was found that the Jews of Portugal and Spain, we have a lot of their bones because they're friggin' tortured and shit. The rule is that their skulls are dolichocephalic. Why they got nigga skulls? But these are the first people to be sold into the transatlantic slave trade. Yeah, they're niggas. So then Jews were the first people, nigga Jews were the first people to be sold in the transatlantic slave trade. That's kind of what it says. That's the evidence. God bless, sister. I'll definitely be praying for you, of course. Definitely. Try to change up your diet. See if you can get a little more in your diet. Definitely supplement. What are you, a Capricorn? That's like a Capricorn tendency. To have low iron, yeah. Thank you. Yes, I ate high iron greens today. You a Cap? Yeah, man, that's no joke. I got to take some vitamin like D supplements, but I lived in New York, so now that I live where it's sunny, it's not as bad. But I'm about to get into the whole coronation, and I'm just trying to explain the background of, and I'm gonna put this all into a whole. Yeah, I figured Capricorns are known for having anemia. It definitely affects the personality and the mentality and whatnot. It leads to melancholy. He's got to eat smaller meals throughout the day and exercise a lot. That'll help. Yeah, and Cameron Hicks, what's up, family? Yeah, bro, I was a big time astrologer back in the day. I would do that regularly. But I think you might have told me you were a Capricorn, so I can't take credit for that. Low iron. I'm like, yeah, it's Capricorn all over. It's typical of them. Salute to Leo, my brother. But anyway, so you can look up all of what I'm saying, and if you want a great visual, there's a guy on YouTube. Guys, type this down. Write this down right now. You know what? Let me write it down myself. Hold on. I'm gonna put his name across this. See if I can make it even better. His name is Benaya. Look him up on YouTube. I think I spelled it right. But he goes, bro, he takes, if you don't believe black people, you don't want to hear Afrocentric stuff, this dude takes textbooks straight out of Harvard, straight out of elite colleges, and shows you written by Europeans at the time who were there. So it's not our word, it's just what was written about it at the time. You get me? So with that in mind, it does say that there was a mixed bunch. It wasn't all black Jews in Portugal and Spain. Right? So look them up on YouTube. There was definitely mulattoes and whites, but for the most part, it was like 90% niggas. Possibly a variety of shades, but whatever the case. The people, once that started going on in Spain, you either had to get out of Spain or fake it. Either get out of Spain or convert. Right? So some people converted, but they still did things like keep Sabbath. And if you changed your clothes on a Saturday, they would come and they would torture you. They would take you to the inquisitors and they'll torture you under suspicion of being a Jew. Right? Because you kept Sabbath. You changed your clothes on Sabbath. Aha! That's what Jews do. Get them. So funny enough, a lot of Jews ran to Jamaica for safety. Because when Christopher Columbus, quote unquote, discovered Jamaica, it was given to him as his personal property. It was his inheritance, and the Columbus family kept Jamaica until they were no longer ruled. But the Columbus family made it so that the Inquisition was not allowed to come to Jamaica. So all throughout the Spanish kingdom, when the New World was discovered, what you have to understand is that Moranos, Jews, they were the ones who were paying for the discovery of the New World because they were dirty rich. They were richer than the king. They were donating money to the king. They financed Columbus's expedition. Aboard Columbus's expedition were a bunch of Moranos by names. Nice. Get home safe. Just let me know you got home safe. So, with that in mind, the Moranos, a lot of them ran to Brazil, and then they got it when the Portuguese took over Brazil. The Inquisition came there, so a lot of them ran from there, and a bunch of them went to Jamaica. There's stories of families going to Jamaica from Brazil, Moranos, but even from Portugal and Spain, people were coming straight to Jamaica because it was a way to hide out. And the Spanish did eventually take over Jamaica, but it was where, because the Columbus family ruled, they were good. There was no Inquisition, but they still had to keep it under wraps. So Jamaica was actually a haven for Moranos. Now, guess how they test if you're a Morano? Make you eat a pig. They'll force you to eat a pig. So that's what Morano has to do with the pig. Now, the etymology of the word Morano comes from Arabic. The Moors took it to Spain because the Moors ruled Spain for 700 years. The word Morano came from Muharram, which means forbidden, which is Arabic. But the Hebrew version is Maharatan, which means like our Lord is come or something of that nature. But there are things that God forbids. In order for God's presence to be within you, you don't eat pork. The Holy Spirit remains in you when you don't eat pork. You eat pork, you cause that to reside because that's unholy. So you got to be holy. So Maratan, our Lord is come, has to do with, I guess this is my interpretation of it, becoming Muharram has to do with things that you keep out of you that are forbidden for the sake of purity, to keep the Lord within you, right? So pork was something that was forced on them in Spain and Portugal. So another name for Morano is the Anusim, which means the forced ones. The Moranos were the ones who were forced to become Christians, forced to eat pig, right? So one way they hid the fact that they were Jews, eat the pig. No, then, because if you didn't eat the pig, they'd be like, oh, he's a Jew. He's keeping Saturdays and eat the pig, he's a Jew. He's keeping God's laws. So effectively, the Moranos were, as being Jews or Israelites, whatever you want to call them, are the children of God. Because that's who the Israelites were in the Bible. They were the children of the Most High God. Their ways was close to God. So all the other nations had to learn from them and abide by their ways to be in right with God, because all the other nations were doing dumb shit like sacrificing their kids to false gods, to demons. And when they went up against Israel, they failed because Israel had the Most High God on their side. But whenever Israel did dumb shit like worship false gods, eat pork, God wouldn't reside with them, and they would lose. But yeah, so here's how this all ties in, right? So the Moranos were heavy in Jamaica, and Morano again means they're Israelites who are hiding the fact that they're Israelites. It is a Moorish term, right? Now, some of these Moranos definitely practice Islam. Some of them converted to Islam, and some of them would have been considered Moorish Jews, right? You have a basketball player named Vincent Cohen. Look him up, Google him. Vincent Cohen, the famous basketball player from Jamaica. And what Vincent Cohen says, they were like, yo, people are always confused about his name because they'll see his name, call him up for a job interview, and they see a black man. because Cohen is a Jewish last name. It comes from the biblical term Kohan, which means that you can trace your lineage back to Moses, the same guy, to Kohan from the Bible. That's what the last name Cohen means. Lindsay Cohen, John Cohen, whatever. So they're like, why do these black people have the last name Cohen? And that's actually a phenomenon because there's a lot of black people with the last name Cohen. So either A, the Jewish people are fucking lying about not being involved in the transatlantic slave trade, and you guys were notorious in it, and a man named Cohen was heavily involved in the transatlantic slave trade, or it's as Vincent Cohen's father told him, and his father told him, and his ancestors told him. We descend from a group of Portuguese Jews who were running away from the Inquisition to Jamaica. Yeah. I love how the music stopped right there. So there are people who have their ancestry intact. Like what our ancestors say matters. What my father tells me that his father told him, that his father told him, that his father told, those things matter. Of course, my grandfather passed away when my father was young, but my aunt got to know him. And that's why my aunt was the one who passed on more of the Maroon knowledge, because my grandfather was 100% Maroon, born and raised in a compound. I think my aunt may have been, or if not, at least St. Elizabeth. So, but nonetheless, what your ancestors say matter, and what the ancestors of the Cohens say is like, no, we're Portuguese Jews who were running away and we're hiding that fact, and we came to Jamaica as a hideout, right? So if Jamaica is full of Marranos, right? What would happen? And these Marranos are black, or at least mostly black. What would happen if these Marranos married? No, excuse me. What if these Marranos got discovered as being Israelites and they ran away because they didn't want to like get deported or some shit? I don't know. Because the Spaniards did rule and Columbus wasn't ruling anymore. So what if they got discovered and the Spanish authority come after them and they flee and they run into the mountains because the Spaniards want to enslave them, because the Spaniards were enslaving Marranos. Okay, forget it. What about the Marranos that came as slaves? Because Marranos were being sold into slavery. What about the ones that came to Jamaica as slaves or anywhere else? Fuck it, Sao Tome for that matter, because that's ground zero for the slave trade. The first place where slaves from Portugal and Spain went to in Africa was Sao Tome, and they were Jews and they were Africans. I contend that both of these groups were black and both were Israelites, African and the Portuguese and the Iberian. But nonetheless, I'll drink some water real quick. All right. So here's the thing. If you look up any book written in the 1800s that talk about the Maroons, it'll tell you plain as day that the word Maroon comes from the word Marrano. When the Maroons fought the British, what people don't understand is that we, the Maroons, were not fighting the British first. We were fighting the Spaniards in Jamaica. And the Maroons were instrumental in defeating the Spaniards. The British are a bunch of lying pieces of shit. They tell you, oh, the British, they beat the Spaniards and took over Jamaica. No, the British were getting their asses kicked, and they relied on a Maroon named Juan de Bolis and his Maroons. to betray the Spaniards. Additionally, there were many Moranos who served as privateers, meaning they were buccaneers, they were ship captains, they were pirates, there were a bunch of. But do you really think that? No offense, do you think that white people? Let me not say that. Do you think that European Jewish people were pirates of the Caribbean? That they were slaves in Africa, and that they became pirates of the Caribbean? That don't make no. Get the fuck out of here, dude. And that's no offense to anybody, but show me the many settlements that they had in Africa. Because when we go there, we find black people there. And the pirates? But nonetheless, you had a bunch of pirates, right? These pirates, and you can look this up. I want you guys to Google the phenomenon of Jewish pirates, and it's an interesting story. The descendants of the people who were forced to convert to Christianity were not happy with that, and these descendants are known as Moranos. These Moranos ran away. Like these Moranos, a lot of them basically escaped the clutches of the Spaniards, because you can't be a Jew in the Spanish kingdom. So what they did was they just got private sea vessels, and they started roaming the sea, and they started robbing niggas, and they were the pirates of the Caribbean. They fucked shit up for the Spaniards. They made sure that Spaniards weren't getting it messed up their trade. They robbed them so bad it messed up their trade and it messed up their economy. And outright they assisted other people in defeating the Spaniards in naval battles. So what's actually left out is that a group of people known as the Moranos were heavy in destroying the Spanish Empire because they hated the Spanish Empire for what they did to their family. But check this, buddy. They were Moranos. The word Maroon. Let's go back to the first Maroon that is acknowledged in the history books. And history will tell you that he's the first Maroon chief. He was a great Maroon chief. But real Maroons will tell you, motherfuck Juan de Bolis. Let's go over some. As I said early in this live stream, Ladino. Bless you, sister. Glad you're home safe. So as I said in this live stream, Ladino is a mix of Hebrew, Arabic, and Latin. A lot of names, it's mostly Hebrew and Latin, though, with a little Arabic. But it's written like Arabic. A lot of names that people think are Spanish are actually Hebrew. Jose and Juan. Juan is one of the most common Hebrew Ladino names. It's Hebrew. So we really did descend from gangsters. Pirates, yeah, seriously. You know what's funny? My grandmother joked. She told me that when I was a kid. She was like, "Cause what? I don't. Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, my grandma briefly said to me, "Yeah, no, your dad is from the part of the town where the pirates come from." And I'm like, pirates? But the idea of slavery was so woven into my head that I'm like, oh, well, we were slaves back then. Maybe they were just pirates. Hey, bro, I'm about to get into that. Queen Nanny was a pirate. Or at least her people. Yeah. Bro, I'm about to get it. There's stories of Maroons leaving the mountains and carrying on trade with Cuba, as well as piracy, right? But this is where it ties together, and this is where history starts to unravel. You're like, oh, they covered this shit up. They covered this shit up to make us look like bitches. Like the last 400 years, we were just getting our asses whooped. No. So check this. Moranos discovered America, not the Europeans, because it's alleged that Christopher Columbus, aka Cristobal Colon, was a mulatto freaking Morano, that he was a secret Jew, and that's why he protected the Jews in Jamaica. Jamaica was a haven for Jews. Yes, it was. In fact, I contend that Jamaica is a Ladino word. It's Hebrew mixed with Arabic. I said it when I was a kid, but I didn't get it. Now, I said it like a couple years ago, but I didn't understand until I really understood Ladino. Ica. When you look at the word Ica, America, Africa, Jamaica, Ica is a suffix. It goes at the end of a word. From what I remember taking Latin, Ica is place. It denotes like it's pertaining to someone, like Bob Ica, the land of Bob. So so Jamaica is Ica, land of Jama, land of Jama. What's Jama? Well, if I know my English correct, and we're talking about like Latin and English, that J is a 400-year-old letter. So we have to change that J to a Y, right? So it's Yama, Jamaica. It's Jamaica, which is even more consistent with Spanish, Jamaica, right? But watch this. There are three. So I disagree. I disagree with that, but there are three interpretations of what Jamaica means. Number one, Zamaka. Zamaka is the native Lakota word, which is a Taino or Arawak language of a particular native group. Zamaka. They say Zamaka is the land of wood and water. That's not what I heard as a kid. What I heard as a kid was it is the land of beautiful springs or land of springs. That's what I heard. And when you look it up, you'll find both. Some will say land of springs and some will say land of wood and water. But hold on. Every fucking island has wood and water. Every Caribbean island has wood and water. You know what every Caribbean island doesn't have? 8 springs. Jamaica is known for 8 springs, 8 hot springs. So, isn't a description that's more apt and particular to Jamaica, land of the springs, which is its definition, right? So, here's the thing. We get land of from Ica. Springs is Yamai. What language is Yamai Springs? Well, funny enough, I Googled the word Yamai and found it in Strong's Concordance in Hebrew. It means hot springs. So if we mix Hebrew with Latin, Yamai, Ica, Jamaica, Hebraic Latin. Exactly. 8 rivers. So, here's the thing. If we mix Hebrew with Latin, we would have the Yamai and the Ica. But it didn't click. Like, I understood that, but it didn't click until I understood Ladino. Ladino is the mix of Hebrew and Latin. And it was spoken by who? The Maranos. Where did the Maranos hang out? Jamaica. Because it was a haven for Maranos. So if it was a haven for Maranos, what would the Maranos be calling the island? If Christopher Columbus himself was indeed a Marano, meaning he would have had some knowledge of Ladino, or at least his translator was 100% a Marano. What is a fact is that Jamaica was a hiding place for Maranos. Maranos spoke Ladino. Ladino is Hebrew and Latin. Hebrew, Yamai, is biblical Hebrew for hot springs. Ica is Latin for land of. So Jamaica is Ladino for land of hot springs. Jamaica is a land of 8 hot springs. A bunch of fucking Maranos were here. You don't think they would influence the language or what it's called? They freaking discovered it. Jamaica, first and foremost, Jamaica was not, even if, let's say Christopher Columbus is a white dude, he's not a Marano. Let's say even the Maranos are white. The first person to see Jamaica from the boat and set foot on Jamaica from Columbus's ship was a Marano. Therefore, European Maranos discovered Jamaica. In their language, the word Jamaica means land of hot springs. Jamaica has 8 hot springs. The translation for Jamaica is Jamaica. Now, there are dudes out there saying that Jamaica is Arabic, Jamaica, right? Jamaica, and there is truth to it. And this dude on YouTube goes on to say that the Moors actually discovered Jamaica, and there is truth to that. Moorish people, more than likely Mandi speaking as well as Arabic speaking people, possibly descendants of Mansa Musa's people who came here, had discovered Jamaica. So it's possible that they would have called it by an Arabic name. But let's go back. Is Arabic, first off, Arab is named after a man named Yarab ibn Qatan. Yarab ibn Qatan is the son of a man named Qatan, who was the son of a man named Eber, who was the father of the Hebrews. Hebrew is literally the grandfather of Arabic. So if an Arabic word exists, a Hebrew variant exists. Therefore, it still stands. If you want to say that Jamaica is an Arabic word, I contend it's a Hebrew word. And why would the Moors have knowledge of Spanish? The Moors invaded Spain. So the Moors clearly would have understood Spanish. So the suffix at the end of Jamaica is an Ica. That's Latin. Therefore, it is a Spanish influence. And the Spanish ruled it for a time. Therefore, this is a mixture of Spanish, Arabic, and Hebrew, which is Ladino, which is the language of the Marranos. Now, the third theory about Jamaica's name is that in the language Chi, Jamaica, it means, it looks like we're stuck. Jamaica. So my ancestor, Prince Naquan, when the bastard Spaniards tricked him to coming to Jamaica, and he basically got stuck there, the father of Queen Nani and Kodja, because that was ultimately their mission, to get back to Africa, but they were stuck. They would have said Jamaica, meaning we're stuck. They definitely would have said that. Jamaica or Jamaica. They certainly would have said that, right? Now, with that in mind, weren't Akan people, speakers of Chi, from Ghana, enslaved all over the Caribbean and even the Americas? So why wouldn't the other islands be called Jamaica? Because they were stuck on other islands too. So that's how we strike that one out. So what I would say is they probably did call it Jamaica, which is very Hebraic, because when things happened, that's how the Hebrews would name places. Like where this happened, the Oak of Mamre, whatever, they would name it after events. So that's very biblical. And Akan people themselves claim to build Jerusalem. They claim that themselves. Not me. But I am Akan, so yeah. But with that in mind, so here's the setting. You got Jamaica, which is the land of the hot springs. It's full of Marranos, hidden Jews, crypto Jews, right? Who hate the Spaniards, who are at war with the Spanish Empire. A lot of them are pirates, and they move throughout the Caribbean, assaulting the Spanish Empire, right? And they were a great assistance in helping the British come to Jamaica and liberate it from the Spaniards. The Marranos called the British. Marranos assisted the British, but if they were black, why weren't they rescuing their fellow Africans? Because it was a time of war and slavery. Nigga, that's your position. Not all skin folk are kinfolk. You get me? But it's not necessarily true that they didn't. But here's the thing. Juan de Bolis now. Juan is a Ladino name. Juan de Bolis means Juan of the Balls. Juan de Bolis is said to be a famous Maroon chief. He is not a Maroon chief. Well, he was, but not our chief. Like, he's not from our line. He was a servant of sorts to the Spaniards. But upon deeper research, they believe he was a Creole. He was more than likely born in Jamaica under Spanish Jamaica. He may have been a slave, he may have been a servant, but in some capacity he served the Spanish, but we're not sure. Him and Juan de Ceres. These are classic Ladino names. They are at the time. Juan does not originate from Spanish. It's not a native Spanish name. It's a Hebrew Spanish name. It's Hebrews. When the Hebrews became slaves in Spain and Portugal over what's like 1400 years ago. No, like 2000 years ago maybe. Yeah, about 2000 years ago they've been slaves in there, and then a lot of Spanish words became mixed in with Hebrew words. So Juan actually comes from, I think it might come from Yehochanan, which is a Hebrew name. It's like John. And Jose is like Joseph, I think. Yosef. I think that's where it comes from. But these names were originally, if you study Marrano history, these were names that Marranos typically had. Typically. But here's the thing. Juan de Bolis was called a Maroon. Here we have a guy who was a slave to the Spanish. We know that the Spanish were enslaving people known as Marranos. We know that the word Maroon comes from the word Marrano. I can show you more than 3 books. The Bible says, by 2 witnesses the truth is established. I went out and got a third. I have 3 books from the 1800s. I think I have one from the 1700s that tell you the word Maroon, the slaves, quote unquote, who were called Maroons, the British called them that, but the Spaniards weren't calling them that. Just like the Spaniards didn't call it Jamaica. The Spaniards didn't call us niggers. The Spaniards called us negro. And the British came along and said, niggers, Negroes, niggers, a nigga. That's how that came about. So what the Spaniards were saying, Jamaica, and they came along and said Jamaica. The Spanish were saying Indios. Indios in Spanish means indigenous native. They were not calling people Indians. Christopher Columbus did not think, hey, you guys are Indians? Yeah, you guys are from India. That's not what happened. That's fucking stupid. Christopher Columbus was calling them indigenous peoples. Indios. But when the British came by, they were like, oh, Indians? Oh, these guys are Indians. Well, Americans now. So that then Americans translated Indians from Indios. They translated nigger from negro. They translated Jamaica, Florida, Florida, and all sorts of shit like that. So they took a lot of Spanish words and they just translated them. What word did they translate maroon from? Motherfuckers are stuck on cimarrones. But the book I have is perfect because it says maroon comes from the word Marrano, point blank period. But another word that comes from Marrano is cimarrones, which is the common definition given for maroons. When you look up maroons, you will find the word cimarron. That's what they'll tell you comes from. It means wild and untamed. No. That's what it's come to mean because the people were wild and untamed. But the word, the oldest book says it means like monkey. One is calling them a pig, marrano, and the other cimarron is either meaning wild marrano, cimarron, or which is a wild marrano, or a monkey, or a donkey. But it's referring to them as an animal that has escaped, a loose animal. But it's rooted in the word Marrano, which at the time they were feuding with the Marranos being the Jews. So the word maroon literally comes from a word that was used for Jews. So unless we want to believe they were just arbitrarily calling these Jews Marranos and then these blacks, So the Spaniards were enslaving Marranos first before black people, period. Or at the same time. You can say at the same time. Because some of these these blacks they were enslaving were Moors, known as Moriscos. So you had Moriscos and you had Moranos. The Moranos were the Jews. The Moriscos were the Muslims, but the Muslims were black. Oh, I would have guessed it meant shrimp, since they say in Cameroon is the land of shrimp or something like that. Oh, Cameroon? I didn't know that. It's the land of shrimp, for real? So, point being, Cimarrones, what was I saying? Unless you want to believe, so the Spaniards were calling white Jewish people Moranos, and they were selling them into slavery to Africa and the New World. And a bunch of them escaped to Jamaica because Jamaica was a protected area that these white Jewish people could hide away from. And if they fought the Spanish, and if they ended up in slavery, got taken to Jamaica as slaves, whatchamacallit, because there were different time periods. We're talking about a span of over 200 years. The laws changed, right? So for the ones who were taken to Jamaica as slaves, you're telling me white Jewish people were taken to Jamaica as slaves and ran away from slavery? Where the fuck are they? Because I come from the community of the runaways, quote unquote. We're all black as fuck. Some of us were native DNA. There were no white people among us like that. For us to have their name. So white Jewish people were being sold into slavery to the New World, and that doesn't make sense. We do know that black Muslims were being sold all over, these Moors. Technically, one of the first Moors were being sold to Jamaica regularly. The royals from Grenada apparently were sold to Jamaica. So there were Moorish people definitely in Jamaica, and obviously some of them fought back and made it to the mountains and became Maroons, right? So the Maroons, and some of them were there before the Spaniards, when the Spaniards came to Jamaica, being remnants perhaps of one, the Mandi Arabic-speaking people who that Mansa Musa came from, who were here before the Europeans. So again, the Maroons would consist of first the natives, and then the Arabic-speaking, but also Mandi-speaking Moors, who were here before Columbus and the Spaniards, but also during the slave trade of them being sold here. So that's natives and then Moors. That's how they got there. The next group would be the Jews. These Jews are black Jews that we're talking about. They come in all colors, but we're talking about the black ones. The ones that were sold to Africa as slaves. The ones who ran to other parts of Africa to escape slavery. The ones who were sold to the New World as slaves. The ones who escaped to parts of the New World to escape slavery. The ones who were hiding out as non-Jews in Jamaica to avoid slavery. We're talking about those people. Those were called Moranos. That's where we get our name from. Those people, the world understands them. The Bible testifies to them as the children of the Most High God. So those people make up the Maroons as well. But some of those people also practice Islam. So whatever they practice is not necessarily indicative of who they are, but it's the name. So those are the first three groups of people that are in Jamaica. The natives, amongst the Maroons. The native Jamaicans, the Moors, but again, Moors could be different types of black people who practice Islam. The Moranos, which some of them practice Islam too, and they could be considered quote-unquote Moorish Jews. They could be put under that same umbrella with the Moors because they were sold at the same exact time. So you can say Moranos / so it's the natives, the Moranos, the Moriscos, and then West African, such as which is the one that makes up the most, which is where my forefather came from. My forefather, Prince Naquan, came to Jamaica with 600 Chi-speaking Fanti, Akan, Ashanti mixed group of batch of people to Jamaica, and they make up a bulk of the Maroons because there was about 600 of them. Now, Juan de Bolis went on a killing spree, and he murdered a lot of the natives. Juan de Bolis, again, was born in Jamaica. His name sounds like a Ladino name, meaning he was more than likely a Marrano. He was called the first Maroon chief. But why would they call him a Maroon chief? The Spaniards didn't call him Maroon. The Spaniards called him Marrano. That's why they called him Maroon. So Juan de Bolis, having the name Marrano and looking at his name, he was a black Jew. He was a black Jew hiding it. And that's why he turned on the Spaniards. He turned on the Spaniards and assisted. You can look him up. Wikipedia will give him a garbage report about him. But he turned on the Spaniards and he helped the British conquer the Spaniards. And the Spaniards gave up once they realized that Juan turned on them. Now, Juan de Ceres and Juan de Bolis worked together to defeat the Spaniards, but Juan de Ceres wanted to fight the British, whereas Juan de Bolis was like, nigga, let's just side with the British. So Juan de Bolis, on behalf of the British, he was told to exterminate the existing Marranos in the mountains. So he went to the mountains and he started killing off all the Maroons. And Juan de Ceres, his party killed him. His team of Maroons killed him, and Juan de Ceres joined up with my groups, my family Maroons. And that's how we got the modern day Maroons. But successively from then on, and this is 1666. And from there on, you had many people, the Maroons, from 1640, past possibly even earlier, possibly since the 1493, were raiding plantations from the Spanish. Because I looked through Spanish Jamaica, I did manage to find some rebellions of the natives that fled, showing that they did flee to the mountains, and that some were coming down from the mountains to make war with the Spaniards. But essentially, you had runaways that came from West Africa, such as the Bantu people, the Akan people, which my people are, and we make up the largest part of the Maroons. But we also have Igbo. I think Igbo might be Bantu speaking. So it's Ghana, Nigeria, and the Congo. It's really like where there might be other places too. There are other parts of Africa, like I think maybe Cameroon, maybe. But I know that there was some from not Ethiopia, but what's that little island called? Madagascar. I know that there's a famous story about about a Madagascar Maroon that fought my forefather for control over the Maroons, and he got fucked up, and there was a bare hand fight. My ancestor killed him, and that's how he became chief. So one of the most famous chiefs is not Prince Naquan, but it's his son and his daughter, Queen Nani and Kojo, but I'm gonna call him King Kojo because rightfully so. Papa Kojo. Kojo is very famous in Jamaica, and so is Queen Nani. But the current chief, Chief Currie, descends from King Kojo. He's a direct descendant of Kojo. I think maybe on his mother's side, because we share a family name. And in fact, I think that might be my dad's cousin. So that makes us second cousins, I guess. Our parents are cousins. So technically the chief is a cousin. But I don't really know him like that, you know. But let me see now. So establishing who the Maroons are. Well, again, just to sum it up, the Maroons, like I said, the chief said it perfectly. A lot of people have their own definition and spin. And there's a lot of different ways you can approach it because there's a lot of different people that make us up. One of the best ways to say who the Maroons are is Kinda, one family, in Kun Pikibo, children of the Creator. The Maroons are the native Jamaicans, the Moors, which you can say are Moriscos / Marranos. You can put them in the same group, or you can say natives, Moors, Marranos, Akan, which is the biggest. Most of us are Akan people. Bantu people, Bantu speakers. Excuse me, Kikongo, and Kikongo. I think there were like 5 African tribes, 5 from Africa. So about like you could say 8 different people. I met a guy from Madagascar before, a black man. I asked him if he considered himself African. He said more like French. I responded, "Oh, okay. That's some cool shit." That Madagascar experienced brutal slavery under the French, so it's the same thing in Jamaica. Like, it's nigga, you African. Oh, you're more French? No, dude. French people are white and they have narrow noses and they're really fucking racist. Not all of them. That's me, but I don't really give a fuck. Fight me. How about that? You know what's funny? You know what, dickhead? I shouldn't call him that. But here's man, that shit angers me, dude. I don't. I guess I have more pride than these people do, but, bruh, with all due respect, see, this is the shit I don't get. Go to France. They'll tell you about this martial art called savate. Listen, I'm not trying to disrespect nobody, but if you don't like what I'm saying, just tune off my channel and go fuck yourself, bro. Um, if you've ever seen the Boondocks, when President Obama got elected, there's a Boondocks episode. Go watch that. But they connected. They were trying to shame President Obama for being connected to Jeremiah Wright, and they show Jeremiah Wright insulting America, and he goes, "Motherfuck America, motherfuck America, daddy, America can eat a dick, America can lick my balls." That's how I feel about French savate. Motherfuck savate. Savate can eat a dick. Savate can. No, it's motherfuck savate. Motherfuck America, mama. Motherfuck. No, not America. Savate. Motherfuck savate. Damn, how did it go? Daddy, I can eat a dick. Savate can eat a dick. Savate can hold my balls. Here's why I say that. Savate is highly touted as French kickboxing. Look up any savate video. They will not tell you something about savate. Right? So savate, they call it old shoe. And they're like, look, these savate guys, they move their feet like that because they practice on ships and whatnot. And, savate has all these cool kicks and whatnot. And it's boxing mixed with kicking. And it's from the 1800s. Cool. I wouldn't have a problem with savate if you gave credit. Because savate employs inverted kicks. And French people enslaved Madagascar, various parts of Africa. And it's funny because all these parts of Africa that the French enslaved, that they colonized, all have a mysterious art form where they do a lot of dancing and kicking. And these kicks that are in that the French suddenly just came up with and they mixed it with boxing, those kicks look suspiciously like the colonies that you have subjugated to you. Right? So anyone with any sort of intelligence, it's like the French braid. The French braid comes from Africa. There's nothing French about it. They literally learned it from Africans. Savate, I would respect it, and I would respect the French overall if they gave credit to where they got their stuff from. You got savate, the kicks. It's mixed with stuff like capoeira, merengue, which merengue is an art in like East Africa. In Madagascar, they have it. I did a video on it, but if you see it, you're like, yeah, that's probably where they got these kicks from. But even in Haiti, they have I forgot the name of it in Haiti. And in this place called Martinique, in Martinique, they got a martial art called Danma and Agya and Ladja. But you look at everywhere the French have territories with black people, these black people all practice a kicking art. And then all of a sudden the French come up with, yeah, well, these kicks. They would just give credit. Then you find out that the French actually had a lot of Africans on their ship where they were practicing savate in the port of Versailles Yeah, there was a lot of niggas that worked on those shit. Yeah, and they actually had a lot of time to bond and fight. They wrote stories about it. They wrote stories about them going to see Africans holding fights in Africa, literally, and then they give no credit to it. Savat is just taking the kicks of arts like capoeira and Madagascan kicking arts. So yeah, that Madagascan dude was just cooning. You think you're more French? Well, they don't think you are. They think you're noir, darky. Anyway, Lala D says, "Focus. How about the Boondocks, where Uncle Ruckus wanted to prove he wasn't black? I just watched that the other day. You're in my head. But his DNA test, he 2%. What a 2% margin of error. I might watch that again. It's so great. But check it, right? So yeah, the Maroons are various West Africans, but the name Maroon actually comes from the Spanish Marrano, because we Marranos were fighting the Spanish Empire first. Our ancestors were the first people to be sold into the transatlantic slave trade. They're Israelites. Israelites are the descendants of who? They're the children of the Most High God. That's literally what the Israelites are, children of the Most High God. The word maroon comes from the word Marrano. Oh, there are many Maroons who might disagree with me, who would argue, but I'm just gonna go shut it down, because older Maroons, like my forefathers who were chiefs, they tell you this plain as day. They even tell you, no, God sent Nanny. God sent Queen Nanny because the miracles that she worked. Yes, she understood science and herbology, but she was God sent. You know? So, nonetheless, Yenkunku Pikibo, I don't necessarily think it's necessarily good to represent ourselves as an Israelite nation, so to speak. And I don't think a lot of Maroons may even agree with that form of identity. But nonetheless, our nation is Yenkunkun Pikibo. Whatever you want to call us, we're the children of the Most High God. And yeah, many different African tribes make up who we are. But there's also the Moors, which is Africa too, but Portugal and Spain. There's still the Moranos and Moriscos, because that's where the name comes from. And the natives. That's why he's a chief. And we all came together and formed one people. And this people is Yen Kun Kun Pikibo, children of the Creator. But when you think about it, who is the god of these different West African tribes? Well, funny enough, at Chief Currie's coronation, which I wasn't there, but from what I can see in videos, the woman who did his coronation, she is Bantu. And the Bantu is a part of our people. I think through Igbo, I think Igbos are the Bantu speaking people. But Igbo and just, there are books out there. I don't necessarily agree, because I can't speak either language, but there's a book out there called Bantu is Hebrew. And it says that pretty much the sentence structure or the makeup, the root of Bantu is clearly Hebraic. I can't argue for it or against it. I don't possess that knowledge. But there are many Bantu scholars who are like, listen, it's not that Hebrew, that the real Hebrew is Bantu, but it's the makeup, how Bantu was created. It's clearly that Hebrew-speaking people made this language. And there are many Igbo and Bantu or Bantu-speaking people who say that, no, we're Israelites. In fact, recently they held a conference to prove it. There was a DNA test, and the DNA test proved that they're Kohen, that they're priests. They come from the priestly lineage. And when the white Jews had to accept that they are Israelites, the white Jews were like, okay, you're Israelites, but you're from the tribe of Gad. Or no, they said you're from the tribe of Dan. But anytime they discover black people are Jews and are Israelites, and they can't deny it, they try to ascribe the black people as being from the tribe of Dan. But when you read the Bible, Dan is a fucking snake. Dan was kicked out. He was replaced by one of the sons of Joseph, Manasseh, the half tribe Manasseh and Ephraim. So It's not that they deny that there are black Israelites in Africa. They just try to tell you that those Israelites are. What the fuck? This don't feel. This ain't right, bro. No, what the fuck? I'm bugging. Okay, yeah, I'm bugging. So they try to tell you that those Israelites are Danites, knowing that Danites are like removed from the blessings of Israel and whatnot. So here's the thing: the Bantu or the Igbo side of us is they're Africans. They're Igbo Bantu speaking Africans that are saying we're Hebrews, we're Israelites in Africa. Well, those people make up the Maroons. They were Bantu, Hebrew, Igbo slaves running away to the mountains and being a part of the Maroons. And if they are Hebrew, then wouldn't they worship the same God as the Marranos? Wouldn't they be kin to the Marranos? Therefore, they would be Marranos themselves. They just came from a different part. They just came from Africa. That would mean they worship the same God. So that's how them and the Marranos would go together in the mountains. Now, the Akan people, which I am, one of our chiefs, King Agiman Frempe II, before he died, wrote a book saying, look, we kept this a secret for long enough, but the Akan people did not start in Ghana. We migrated from Sahel. But before that, we migrated from, north of Egypt or Sudan, whatever. They migrated from Jerusalem. They're like, we came from Jerusalem. Our ancestors came from Jerusalem, and we settled here. And we've kept this identity secret because it's necessary. So if the Akan people of Ghana really do descend from Israelites who left Israel in 70 AD, and they hid that fact, aren't they Marranos? Especially during the 14 to 1600s? Yeah. So wouldn't the Chi speaking Akan people, Fanti, Ashanti, they're Akan. They're Israelites. So them and the Bantu and the Marranos of Portugal and Spain go right together. Now, the Kikongo people, I can't speak for them, but there's stories of Israelites in the Congo, and they refer to them as the girdled sons of Aaron. But I'll let y'all look that up. Look that up on Benaya's channel. The girdled sons of Aaron in the Congo, of Israelites in the Congo, and that's supposedly they also left. I don't remember. I don't know when they left Israel, but whatever. The girdled sons of Aaron and the Congo people, but they're in Jamaica. They're amongst the Maroons too. So if it's true that they are the girdled sons of Aaron, they're Israelites as well. So them, the Bantu and the Akan and the Marranos, Moriscos of Portugal and Spain are all Israelites. Now, let's go over the natives. How are the natives Israelites? Well, again, the natives spoke Hebraico Corrompido. That's their. How did they talk, dog? They spoke. So they spoke corrupted Hebrew. But nonetheless, even if they're not Israelites, guess what? One of the gods, the chief god amongst the natives, is a god known as Yahya. Yahya is actually Arabic and Hebrew for the Most High God, for the God of the Israelites. They all worship the same God. In fact, in Akan tradition, in Twi tradition, Twi tradition, someone commented on my video that in Twi or Chi, that Saturday, there's two names that they call Saturday by, but Saturday is, I'm gonna butcher this, Minyem Wenyem, which means I am that I am, which is directly out of the Bible when God tells you what his name is. So that's what they call Saturday. They call it by the God of the Bible, by his nickname. And they also call it Yankipon Kwame. That's the God of Saturday. Yankipon Kwame was factually who Queen Natty worshipped, the God of Saturday. Now you open up the Bible, and this is the video I'm working on. Saturday is literally the sign that you are God's people. The Akan people of Ghana, before Christianity came, they practiced Saturday worship. They believe in keeping Saturday sacred, and I would love to talk to the chief and explore that, but it's something that Akan people, that our ancestors really did do. So the Akan people factually do take Saturday seriously, and they also circumcise on the eighth day, and they also name their child on the eighth day. This is what the Akan people did before the Bible came to Ghana, and those things directly out of the Bible. So with that in mind, it's safe to say that their traditions are just like the traditions of the Marranos, and them being escaped from slavery up in the mountains with them, and both being black, you can all say they're Moors. Moranos, or whatever other insult you can come up with for black people, right? Of course, I'm only speaking from my perspective. Not every Maroon necessarily shares this depth of ideology or perspective and history and whatnot, or even beliefs. There's some Maroons that outright make videos saying we're not Israelites, but that just shows how much you fucking know, because Maroon comes from the word Marrano, which is a insult for Israelites, who were the first group of people to be sold in fucking slavery. So are you telling me that black people and white Jewish people were both sold into fucking slavery at the same time and called by the same insult? Fuck you, dude. That don't make no sense. So where are they? So how did they get out of being called this name and we got Stop it. Stop it. That's to take your history away from you, dummy. Because now and I'm going to say it with absolute venom, there is an ape. There is an ape. I'm going to say your name too. Arinzi Amanfo, you fucking ape. I'm going to do a video on you, you friggin' ooh-ah-ah. This ape went out and wrote his college paper on how black Israelites appropriated Jewish history. This Fagorty, this F&N went out and wrote a paper on how black people stole Jewish people's history. You're a coon. You know they control history, right? Like they own the history books, like they write it. Like, taking stuff out of school to be taught right now, they're doing that. So what he wrote was that the 2,000, I think like 2,000 or 200 kids that were taken from their parents, these Marrano children were taken from their parents and sold to Africa as slaves. He wants you to believe that because black people are telling you those kids that were taken from Portugal and Spain and were sold to Africa were black. Just because they're Jews, he's saying no, they're white. And we're stealing their history. You're a dumb fucking clown. You're a dumb fucking clown. Because here's the funny thing, bro. We can Google. There's a place in India. During the Inquisition, many Jews fled from Portugal and Spain and went all over the world. A bunch of them went to India and formed a community of Jews. Then in the 1700s, a bunch of Jews from Europe came to India and settled. And now there are two groups of Jews in India, and they're constantly at war. One group of Jews are black. One group of Jews are white. And do you know what these two Jews are beefing about? Who was descended from the Portuguese Jews that came here? Because the black Jews, who own more cities, came there and said, no, we descend from the famous guy who came here, who was running from the Inquisition, which if they got caught, they would have been tortured by men in white hooded robes. You're telling me white people were running from white men with white, you nigger. You are dumb. You are dumb. So white people were running from white people in white hooded robes, burning crosses, selling them into slavery, or torturing them to death and forcing them to convert to Christianity. If you believe that you are black, bro, you are a sad, sad man. No, dude. No, dude. They have more humanity with each other. No. So in India, you got these two people fighting with each other because they're like, no, you guys came here in the 1700s. We're the ones that came here that were running from men in hooded robes, burning crosses, not you. So again, we have more proof. Man, I have a letter from the freaking, I want to say 1600s, about a Jew that they killed, who was the queen's physician. He was a famous physician. He was a famous historical figure, and he was burned at the stake. He was tortured and burned at the stake for being a Jew, right? And for plotting to kill the queen. But he escaped the Inquisition and he went to England and he became the queen's physician. This dude, I forgot his name, but they called him the queen's little ape, and they described him as being short and black. In fact, when they killed him, when they tortured him and killed him, and laughed at themselves, like lighting this dude on fire, they laughed at him like being lit on fire. They commented, "Look at this little black motherfucker," and they went into the description about how black he was and how short and how he looked like a little monkey. Okay, well, he's black and they call him a monkey. He's a nigga, but he's also Portuguese too. I don't think I need to drive the point home any further. I'm sure they come in many varieties, in many shapes and sizes, and varieties and looks. But let's not pretend that none of them were black and that we did not share a part in that history. I think we shared a predominant part of that history if it's being covered up so much. But nonetheless, our ancestors came together from all these places. The Moors. See, the current chief, he traces, in addition to obviously Cudjoe, to the Moors that were here. And what's unknown to most is that some Maroons in the mountains actually retain speaking Spanish and speaking Arabic. In fact, the Coromantee language, which is the ancient Maroon language, it's a mixture of West African languages such as Bantu, the native Lokono, or Taino Arawakian language, but also mostly Coromantee or Chi, which is Ghana, mostly Ghana, some of the native, some Arabic, some Spanish. But with that in mind, we are one people. Yankunku Pikibo. Pikibo. So Yankunku Pikibo, children of the Creator. Our chief was just crowned, coronated. And I'm very, very happy and excited for him. I think it might have been 5 different groups from Africa, kings and queens, flew from Africa to come to Jamaica through the air and drive all the way up to the mountains to come meet our chief. And I'm going to upload some videos of it so you guys can see it. But if you can see the picture on my cover, that's him being coronated. Him and his wife, I believe. But the man had only been in office for like a year, maybe 2. And amazing. He's been amazing, like for the Maroons so far. Like God is definitely with him, because the Maroons won the court case where Jamaica and Noranda. Noranda is an American company that's been doing the bauxite digging in Jamaica, in the Maroon land, and they're disrupting the water table that's pretty much threatening to poison all of Jamaica, 40% of Jamaica's drinking water, fresh water. But because the Maroons sit on billions of dollars of bauxite, it's rich land. We've been warned with them, but the U.S. government just put a stop to it. The Supreme Court literally just ordered Miranda to sit the fuck down and to pay back restitution. So all the land that they dug up that our ancestors were actually buried on, you have to pay for that. So that was a major fight. That was literally David versus Goliath. That was a multi-billion dollar company. A multi-billion dollar company was defeated by a group of niggas on an island in the mountains. Yeah. Maroon, still strong. Maroon la walla. You don't know. Lion roar. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We rocking. I appreciate you rocking out with me. I'm probably gonna wrap this one up. Because I got off on a whole Israelite tangent. But I know the chief speaks a little Arabic himself. I think he might be a Muslim, but that's just my thought. That's just what I think. But who knows? But God bless him nonetheless, because since he's been chief, it's been nothing but up and up and up for the Maroons. And of course, you always have hating ass niggas sitting on the side, a bad mouth and a talk don't funny man, a bad mind and bad mind. Yeah, man. So I want to plan a trip to Jamaica. I need to go back, and I'm trying to go up. I really, 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 really wish I was there for his coronation. I wish. Man, I need to get my bread up. My channel is monetized, so I'm gonna start using this bread to like take trips to Jamaica. Man, you gotta smoke some compound weed. I need to smoke some compound weed. I really do. I need to go breathe the compound air. One on my yard. Yes, sir. So I'm gonna wrap this one up. I appreciate y'all coming through. It's Shabbat. I'm gonna work on some Shabbat stuff. I got a video coming out real soon. It's just how soon can I edit this? How soon can I edit this? You know, I appreciate you. Till next time. Y'all stay blessed. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. Appreciate y'all. Salute to Mighty LDBC. Salute Chief Currie. What else can I say about Chief Currie? Man, I'm gonna come build a gym and shit down there eventually. But y'all, what else? I feel like I'm forgetting something. No, salute. Oh yeah. So during his coronation, so I feel like it should be King Currie and all Maroon should be under like one freaking one land. I wouldn't mind it if all Maroons came together and got some power and got China the fuck out of Jamaica. Because for all you house niggas that think, oh well, they're gonna do good things for us, they hate you. They're gonna do good things and create a new racial. Man, that shit go when the Chinese credit score or social score hits the West, it's just gonna be a way to keep niggas down. It's just gonna be a way to keep niggas down, bro. So y'all niggas keep playing with China. Y'all keep fucking around and keep thinking China likes you. It ain't going down like that, bro. So it'd be nice if the Maroons all got together and just made Jamaica a new land, new government, despite the fact that that's family. But y'all on some bullshit. They're both family, both sides. But yeah, man. Or at the very least, let's just maintain our own little land. We don't got to go outside of this as long as we can maintain our own land. So yeah, God bless the chief. God bless the Kumpong and all the Maroons. All in Kunku Piki Bo. Shalom, salute. I might go live tomorrow. Peace. Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. Paramount Chief. So when they came and they did his coronation, um, they gave him the title of Paramount Chief. That's like Granddaddy Chief. That's Chief of Chief. Chief of all chiefs. And shout out to legendary Top Cats, Chief Top Cats. See, I've been tagging you in a lot of this stuff, but you haven't been responding to me, Top Cats. Like, I thought Top Cat wanted to smoke with me. I thought he wanted to talk to me, but that never happened. And I told his people I'm not hiding. I don't got no beef with him. I just want to set the brother straight on a few things, on a few topics, because he's a knowledgeable brother, but without the word of God, he's just missing the essential piece. Because yes, we are a native people. Yes, we are Moors. Yes, we are Muslims. We're also Israelites. Yes, we are. We are also the Most High's people. All right, now we'll wrap it up. Peace.